Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Pondcast. Today I have got my good friend Terohn Heinrich and also fellow catfish tournament angler. We're going to talk a little bit today about how catfishing has changed over the last 10 or 15 years, and also how everything's going today as far as catfish tournaments, catfish populations, and catfish popularity. Terohn, thanks for coming and joining me, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me to this awesome place you got here.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you coming, and congratulations on last weekend's second place finish.
I'm not much on bragging, but if 7 boats show up to a tournament, I'm going to finish in the top 10. Every time.
That's right. That's
time.
The best way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I used to fish catfish tournaments a lot. I fished with and against Terohn for several years. Great catfish angler. He was always one that whenever I came into the weigh-in, I was always wondering, what does Terohn have? Because definitely a fierce competitor. So, Terohn, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been catfishing? What got you started in catfishing?
Well, I've been catfishing my whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing better than going out and throwing a bobber in there and you get a catfish sometimes.
That's right.
And then you go, well, how do I get another one? Or you see somebody with a stringer and the first thing you ask them, what'd you do? How'd you catch them? Whatnot. Well, we got started tournament catfishing. We were actually going rock fishing. We ran into this old guy and he said, you sure do got a nice boat. He said, y'all going catfishing? No, man, we're going rock fishing. We rock fish, we bass fish, we're not gonna waste our time catfishing.
Yeah.
So he invites us to a tournament and we got our bass rods and stink bait and chicken livers and night crawlers and we go to the best catfish place we know of. And we might have 20 pounds and 3 fish. And we're high-fiving. These guys, they invited us, and we're going to take their money. We show up to the weigh-in, and 40-pound fish coming out of the live well, 50-pound fish coming out of the live well. And that, that's 20 years ago. So I'm like, what am I doing wrong? You know what I mean? Their fish could eat mine.
Yeah.
So ever since then, it's been just a culmination of putting time on the water and picking people's brain because, you're not born with that information. You have to get it from somebody that has it. And some stuff, by goofing around and doing the wrong thing, you'll figure something out on your own. But that's few and far between.
Yeah.
Listen to the older guys. So for the past 20 years, it's been either recreational catfishing or I do all kinds of fishing.
Yeah.
When you said come talk about fishing, what kind of fishing do you want to talk about?
Exactly.
But if somebody wants to label me as any type of fisherman, I'm a catfisherman.
That's right.
By heart, my heart's in it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. There's something about catfishing. I think it's one thing. The next bite you get, you don't know if that's going to be that 100-pounder.
No, it's always that's the good part about it. I mean, you can either if your plans to go out and catch one to eat, save yourself $6.99 a pound at the grocery store and go out and catch a couple small eaters.
Yeah.
And if you want to catch a trophy fish, you got a chance of catching the boss of the lake.
That's right.
I mean, that thing's eating everything in the lake. Why would you not want to challenge yourself with that?
Right.
You're not going to go deer hunting and look for a spot.
Right.
You're going to look for the baddest dude in the woods walking around.
That's right.
So the challenge and not knowing what's going to be on the other end of the line, I mean, that's the good part about it.
Yeah.
You can respect somebody when you realize the amount of work they put in to what they do.
Yeah.
You can't go to Walmart or Bass Pro and buy the right bait and, to catch these fish. You have to go catch your bait either by throwing a throw net, throwing a lure to catch your bait. So you're putting in work.
Yeah.
It's not it's not spending $8, $10, $20 and you got to plug in a prayer.
Yeah.
And just keep chucking it out there until something dumb enough to bite it bites
That's right.
it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not openly hunting what you're throwing out there. They're just aggravating those fish into biting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that'd be a whole nother show. How do you feel about bass fishing?
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing. I think catfishing gets a bad rep because a lot of people think just go out and anywhere you anchor up and throw a rod out in the deepest spot of the lake and just sit back and relax and you're going to catch a big one. It doesn't always work that way.
It does not. It does not. I mean, cat fishermen have probably the worst rap out of any of them.
Yep.
As far as when they look at you, they're like, you fish for catfish?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're a bottom feeder too.
Exactly.
Well, no, you start to get to know some of the people doing it.
Yeah.
And it's quite the opposite. It's a totally different mindset. It's a lot of anglers have graduated from, I used to be a crappie fisherman, I used to be a bass fisherman, I used to fish for trout, but now, why would I waste my time on that? Why don't I go after what's eating what I try to catch?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, exactly.
Yeah, I'm okay with having that wrap.
Yeah. So. And I think that's the whole mystery of what's the next fish that's going to hit that rod. I think that's what's added to the popularity of catfishing a lot. Because I know, within the last 10, 15 years, it's just taken off. Yeah. It used to be, I remember, when I used to guide back in late 2000s or even when, when I first started fishing Marty's tournaments, there wasn't that many guys fishing. No. There wasn't that many guys out there catfishing. And now it seems like you can go out on the weekend and you see guys from out of state. You see guys from everywhere.
Absolutely.
It's just really taken off. Have you noticed the same thing?
Yeah. I mean, well, the biggest difference that I've noticed is, just like with social media, with what you're doing, is that information's available.
It is.
15 years ago, if I didn't know you or drive by you at the gas station, I didn't know there was a catfish tournament. It wasn't posted online or
exactly.
There wasn't these big prizes, and there were. I mean, there were some guys that did. I guess Ken Freeman did some big tournaments. Was probably one of the first that I heard of was the Ken Freeman Outdoors. There was USA Cats. There's been different clubs, come along. Cabela's, and now Cabela's is, Bass Pro Shop is, the King Cat tournaments. So they're all constantly evolving. There's different levels you can go fish. We're fishing a tournament in Vicksburg with MRM's putting it on.
Yeah.
And it was, an $1,800, $1,900 buy-in. $100,000 to first place.
Yeah.
I mean, you start talking those numbers, and you can stop what you're doing and go fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, that money could really help a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
So, social media, getting the word out. I mean, that's helped it evolve, and you really see some of these rigs people are fishing out of, and the guy that's got a $50,000 bass boat. Well, that ain't the nicest one on the water, no more, buddy.
That's right.
You take a ride in some of these $150,000 catfish rigs.
Oh yeah.
And you'll get envious. You go, man, I thought I had a nice catfish boat. So it's like, and that's another part of the fun of it is you see all these boats that are just unique, and people Frankenstein them. I mean, you get a boat and you turn it into a catfish boat. You go and you look into it and you're like, I might try that on my next one.
Yeah,
or I want to do that. But now they've got, Sea Arc, Monster Cat, some other big names, actually producing a boat targeting a catfish angler or guide.
Yeah.
Which they didn't have that.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
It was kind of in its infancy then.
Right. Yeah.
So,
it was for the most part, you took a center console or Big John boat.
You took whatever you could
turned
get.
it into a catfish boat.
Yeah.
I've even seen guys with bass boats that just put rod holders all over them.
And you've seen some that shouldn't have been catfish boats. They shouldn't have been on the water.
Yeah.
So we always knew I ain't gonna say no names in case they're watching. But you knew they had fish when they come in, and the front of their boat was about 2 inches off the surface.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
You go, we might as well go home.
That's
they got that thing full.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they made it back every time, but they did.
Yeah.
So
that's too funny. And I think it has its pros and cons. I think it's a good thing that the popularity has taken off because, perfect example, TWRA, back years ago, changed the limit to one fish over 34 inches per person.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people were, there's a lot of guys that would keep those big fish and either have a fish fry or they throw them in the bed of their truck and go show their buddies.
Show them off, yeah.
Exactly. And so, once they did that, I think that helped a lot. I think it did. It does have its cons because everybody's fishing for skipjacks now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. You see so many people. You see so many people fishing for catfish that, and some of them don't know how to handle them correctly.
That's probably one of the biggest reasons some of these bigger fish go off and die.
Yeah.
They're being mishandled, and they're being mishandled by people that have the right equipment to handle them, and they don't even know it.
Right.
You can pump too much oxygen into a live well, and that fish is dead.
Right.
You've literally murdered it. Now it's all jacked up on oxygen, and it's gonna swim off and die.
Yeah.
You can dislocate a fish's jaw.
Yeah.
And it'll go out and starve to death.
Yeah.
People put their hands in their gills. All these things that if the right people put the word out that this is the guidelines, for a catfish tournament, this is how you're going to handle them.
Yeah.
We're not going to have you picking them up and dropping them and throwing them over your shoulder and doing all these crazy things.
Right.
Handle them. Be as gentle as you can with them and get them back in the water as quick as you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a biologist by no means, but there's an equation to everything.
Mm-hmm.
How long it could be out of the water before you need to have it in properly climatized water.
Yeah.
Not put them in a hot tank.
Right.
Oh, that water was in there 3 days ago. They'll be good. It's catfish.
Yeah, it's what a lot of people think. They think a catfish, he can live out of water forever. Yeah. Well, he may, but when he swims off, he's been stressed enough that it's really gonna hurt the health of that fish, 100%. But yeah, I think hopefully, the more and more popularity it's getting, the more that, for instance, TWRA in our area or any of the game and wildlife officials in any state are going to see, hey, this is a major game fish.
Well, it is.
That we need to make sure they're taken care of.
It is, and it's a way for the community to profit from it.
Yeah.
Just here in Tennessee, you got Fort Loudon, you got Watts Bar. I think number 2 and number 5 of the best catfish locations in the United States.
Yeah.
So people come in from Ohio and Kentucky and Pennsylvania and all these other states to come and fish here. So it should have the respect and protection that some of the other fish have.
100%.
Now the skipjack craze, when you're allowed to keep 100 and you're allowed to sell them for whatever you want.
Yeah.
Certain times of the year I get it, but right now they're spawning.
Right. Yeah.
You don't need 100 of them.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch that many fish that you need 100. Get you 4 or 5 and go have a good day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think any time that the fish are spawning, it almost makes you think. It just, for example, bass. When the bass get on the bed and guys are sight fishing, for those fish, it almost makes you wonder if there shouldn't be more regulations on that. I don't know how you would regulate it, but
you got hunting seasons.
Yeah.
You can have a time of the year where you say, hey guys, you're not catching this fish right now.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you're not fishing from point A to point B right now.
Yeah.
And if there's not as many people dependent on that as a source of income or a source of nourishment for their families.
Yeah.
What I mean? If you're going out there to catch a catfish to feed your family, then by all means, go get it.
Right.
But when they're spawning, leave them alone.
Exactly. That's we were talking before we started. Noodling. I get it. I'm sure it's a thrill. I've never done it myself. I'm sure it is a thrill. Well, I say it is. You've got a 40-pounder in the boat and tried to grab a hold of him. He'll tear you up. So
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't want to do it in the water.
Well,
But, it almost... I think I have mixed feelings about it. Like I said, I think it could be a thrill, but at the same time, you're pulling those fish out of their nest when you're doing that. And you're almost destroying the nest.
I mean, noodling popularity is going up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, people pay to go on guided noodling trips.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're saying, have you noticed, you're asking me, have I noticed a decline in the number of big fish? Yes. So, I mean, if you stress a fish out enough, does it abandon its clutch? What I mean? Does it leave that clutch of eggs, or does it go back to the box?
Right.
Will it stay? I don't know if anybody's even studying that.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know either, but that's a very valid point. That's what I wonder, if they're going to go back to it, or not.
Yeah.
If they don't and it gets abandoned, of course, you've got panfish that's going to eat it, and you got nobody guarding that nest, and it just
with the popularity comes the consequences of fame.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you got the technology. There's nowhere for them to hide.
I know. And that's one thing. Live scope is coming into catfishing now.
Oh yeah.
It's coming into catfishing. It's I would have never thought really that it was going to. I had Billy Davis. I told you we did a podcast with him, and he talked about he uses live scope a lot to find bait.
Right.
And he started talking about live scoping catfish, and I was like, no way. And sure enough, there are videos out there now about guys live scoping catfish. I would have never thought it, but hey, I guess that's what works for you.
I haven't fell into that.
Yeah.
$5,000-$10,000 investment yet?
I ain't either.
I've got the guy that I'm fishing with this weekend. He's got one, and we used it on the Cumberland River.
Yeah.
We just anchored up and fan casted. And I said, well, I'm gonna drop one straight down since you got this live scope. I'm gonna see what happens. Well, I'm just sitting there just jigging away, and I'm watching that lead and that bait, move, and then you see a little 2-pound fish come over and eat the bait.
How about that?
Yeah, I imagine if you could do it with a 2-pound fish, you can do it with a 40 or 50 pounder in structure. Yeah. Or under a dock. Now you can see them if they're under the dock.
Right.
You're not just guessing.
Right.
So side scan, down scan, all this different imaging.
Yeah.
And then we did really well just using the old school sonar.
Right.
Yeah. Many times. And now I feel like now that I got all these other options, I'm not as good as I used to be.
Exactly. Yeah, that's me. I've for years when I was guiding, that's all I used. I didn't even really have mapping. I just used the 2D sonar, and I used side imaging to look for bait. I tried not to find, but I find myself now looking for fish. And I'm like, okay, stop, back up.
Yeah.
You know what you're looking for. Stop trying to find the fish and know he's there before you stop and start fishing.
Sometimes you just got to rewind it back to the day where you go out there and you go, that rock looks really good.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to throw right next to that rock.
Yeah.
And so you spend more time fishing and less time.
Right.
I guess with your head in the video games.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I said bass fishermen and crappie fishermen anymore. All you see, you see them out there on a boat doing this.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah, we had an old guy tell us. I said we marked all kinds of fish. We saw them on the sonar. He said you can't weigh those in.
That's funny.
I got you.
That's right. That's exactly right. But and speaking of popularity and catfish tournaments now, it's amazing how far catfish tournaments have came along. And I always said, and you know, I was guilty. I fished them, and I still fish them. I still fish them today. I noticed a change on Watts Bar when the King Cat came.
Yeah.
You know, the King Cat came, and then you started getting a lot more out of state anglers coming. But it's part of it.
Yeah,
that's part of it.
It's instant pressure. I mean, it's definitely instant pressure on the environment.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting pinged with sonar all day.
Yeah.
Down imaging, X-ray, you know, whatever these cats got.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought one of them remote control submarines. It's got a 100-foot tether on it, and I still ain't figured out how to use it.
That's
you know?
funny.
I'm gonna do it too.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's an option, you're gonna.
That's right.
You're gonna try it. You know, maybe be the first one to do it.
100%.
So.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, catfish tournament. We were talking earlier again. You know, everything now is, you've got most of, like the Cabela's King Cat, it's still a trailer tournament, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, those fish are getting loaded up in the live well, they're getting hauled to the weigh-in. And most of those guys, you know, most of these guys, they know how to handle a fish. But still, you got all that stress on the fish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, going to the weigh-in, and you know, they had I watched the weigh-in for the last one, they had a water slide. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. That's one way, you know, we've released stripers before. You just kind of give them a shove into that water, and they'll just, it just shocks them and they'll take off. But you know, something we mentioned earlier, you know, like the MLF, the bass fishing, they've got an official on their boat that weighs the fish, and then they turn around and let that fish go right then and there.
Yeah.
You know, that fish is going right back to its home to be caught again. So I think you got a really good point there. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah. There's something that could help. I mean, there's always some way to make it better.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And if you're you gotta circle what's the most important thing. You know, that's keeping that reason for being there alive.
Exactly.
If that's not the most important thing, then you got it backwards.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, definitely taking the pressure off them during certain times of the year.
Right.
You know, when it's real hot.
Oh yeah.
You know, you cart a fish around in the live well all day, and it's hot, and you pull it, you get it out of 50 foot of water that's 60 degrees, and you put it in your 80-degree live well, and then you ride them around all day, and then you run them. You know, that fish don't know which way's up. I mean, no. I get it. They're cold-blooded, and they do recover. They do recover, but it needs to be at a pace. You know, and years ago, you know, Ken Freeman had a tank. They'd put them in that tank. Everybody could see them. You know, let the fish get some oxygen, then get let go.
Yeah.
So if it's going to continue, if catfishing is going to continue, and it is going to be as big as bass fishing one day, that top tier standard has to be set.
Yeah.
And it's, if you don't have a way to nurse these fish back to health, you don't need to have the tournament.
Right.
I mean, period.
Right. Yeah.
I believe Sea Arc had the slide, the Sea Arc tournament, the Boat Owners Invitational.
Yeah, it was Sea Arc.
Well, they do a good job of. They've got a revival tank right there. You know, that's got, you know, I'm not going to say heavily. It's properly oxygenated. It's got that bait keeper.
Yeah.
You know, the blue water. You know, it gets that fish jacked up and ready to go back. So if they have stress, well, then, you know, you're going to lose them sometimes. You know, have in place which food bank's going to take these fish.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
And a lot of tournaments do that. But there's that gold standard has to be.
Yeah.
You know, up here, and you're talking. You know, this year it's $100,000 tournament. Next year there might be $200,000 the first. Well, you start getting into that money. You know, you can put an official on each boat.
Oh yeah.
Because you're there by either by invitation, you know, or you check all the boxes.
Right.
You know, I got the equipment to do it. I've got the live well to keep them alive. You know, I got my reputation. You know, you're in.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's somebody that's gonna ride with you all day.
Right.
You know.
That's right.
I mean that might end up being interesting. But
I'd
like to see it.
I would too.
So
King Cat, MRM, whichever, whoever, we're challenging you. Make it happen. We want to see it turn into the MLF of catfishing.
Yeah, get it up there.
Yeah, that's
You know,
right.
there's enough people. There's there's a group out of Ohio that has tournaments. You got people that have tournaments in Texas, Missouri, Kansas, and everybody's kind of staying in their sandbox. At what point do you say, hey, these are the top tier people? This is the top tier trail.
Yeah.
Bring it together.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the means are out there, the people are out there. There's enough effort getting spread around. Maybe if some people got together and did the right talking,
Yeah.
it'd come together and be something really good.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
Maybe knock a couple smiles off the bass fishermen's faces.
Yeah.
They see you roll in with a $1 million paycheck for catching catfish.
That's right.
That's going to change their mind.
Yeah, 100%. Now you got me wanting to do another one of those Chasing Giants tournaments.
Yeah.
That was fun, and put an official on the boat with everybody.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's always something.
Yeah.
But traveling around and going to them and fishing these different clubs and different waters, and I mean, so far I can say I've been collecting experiences. I fished, I think 30 catfish tournaments last year, all over the place, different series. I did all of the King Cat stuff last year. Meet a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Made a lot
Yeah.
of friends. So it's a good deal. I recommend it.
Yeah.
If you're miserable crappie fishing or miserable bass fishing, get you a catfish friend.
That's
and,
right.
Get some more information.
That's right. That's right. So you got more tournaments planned for the year?
So, last year I did, like I said, I went all out last year. I wanted to see what it would take, physically, mentally, financially, what would it take to fish all these tournaments? And I found out. Right? So this year I said, well, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I love it. So I committed to fishing the local tournaments with my little nephew, because he can't get out of school to be gone, Thursday and Friday to be out of town.
Yeah.
So I said, well, that'll be my priority. And then, work, run my own business. So got to work. Got a grandbaby that's going to, need more attention. So yeah, I'm just picking my shots.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for the money. Now the MRM tournament in Vicksburg, we're gonna go down there for the money.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no other reason we would
exactly.
go.
Yeah.
But it just makes sense.
Right.
If
right.
we're out of town for a week, we not only do we lose our week's wages of work, we're paying out $1,500, $2,000 for travel expenses, $2,000 for the tournament. So you're gonna have 100 boats down there that each boat is minus $4,000 right now. But when we kick off, everybody's going to be in it for about the same thing, unless you live there and you know the area.
Right.
If you're lucky enough to do that, you might have a little upper hand. But I mean, their first place is going to be $100,000, then they're going to pay down however many places. So they're paying back $200,000. Well, the town of Vicksburg is making some money.
Yeah.
Because they've got people traveling and coming in there.
Right.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, everybody wins. When the community says, "Hey, we just made $200,000 off of a catfish tournament. Maybe we need to protect these catfish a little more."
Right.
We want to see a tournament here, once a month.
Yeah.
And maybe if the big sponsors would come along, people have got. Most of the people that are sponsored have got like local sponsors, maybe a boat sponsor, but nothing like a Toyota sponsor.
Right.
Or, big names, Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to come up and say, hey, if I put my name on this, there's plenty of money to be made.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen. I don't know who's going to do it, but it will eventually happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like we were talking about popularity. I think you're right. I think it's getting out there.
Yeah,
and it's
the popularity's there.
Yeah,
and it's it's family friendly. Anybody can try to do it.
Yeah,
to go and be competitive, and go to all these different places and be competitive. Man, it's just you get your brain fried going to some of these places.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Well, it's I'm looking forward to fishing some more tournaments again this year, and seeing you guys, getting to hang with you guys. That last tournament I fished. That was a lot of fun. It was good to see all y'all again.
You get things from catfishing. As I said, you need to get you a catfishing friend.
Yeah.
I mean, I fished bass tournaments. I mean, that's kind of, everybody sees that and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna go fish a bass tournament.
Yeah.
And then nobody wants to talk to you.
Well, exactly. Exactly.
You go to a catfish tournament and you don't catch nothing, I'm gonna give you some bait. I'm gonna tell you where to go. Heck, I might get in the boat and go with you. Nope, not a bass tournament. You ain't making no friends there.
It was funny. We fished. We like I said, we took a break from catfish tournaments for a while, and last year my son wanted to fish a small local bass tournament trail, and we fished it. And the first tournament we fished, we were in the money. That first tournament we fished, there's 40-some boats, and they started announcing the winners. At the catfish tournaments, we've always,
just clap it up.
They announced the first winner. I start clapping, and nobody else. Everybody's just kind of looking at me like,
they're all miserable.
What's wrong with you?
They're mad and miserable.
I was like, congratulations,
They've been standing there casting for 8 hours.
It's a totally different crowd. It's like you said, it becomes just a big group of friends. It's just
It's been like that. I mean, we followed the King Cat Trail last year, and a lot of those people are now, talk to them once a week, every couple weeks. I mean, when you got a family and job, it's kind of hard to be chatty with all your buddies every day.
Right.
But once a week, hey, how you doing? Are you going to this next spot?
Yeah.
You need anything? I'm on my way.
Yeah.
That's real big. If you can help somebody, you're gonna help them.
Right.
But yeah, you definitely get you a catfish friend.
That's right. That's what it's all about. It's just enjoying it, and you get to spend time with your friends, and
Yeah, I was
a good time.
I was happy and sad to see you back. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about it. I mean, I invited you back, and have to finish behind you. I want you to be 1 pound on the other end of it.
I got you. Well, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. So we'll see how things turn out next weekend.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
That's right. Well, let me ask you this. It's something I always ask everybody. Do you have any crazy fishing stories? Anything, just a phenomenal day, something crazy that happened?
I got, what kind of fishing story you want?
It don't matter, buddy.
You want a good fishing story, a sad fishing story? I've been enough times to appreciate all of them in different ways.
That's right.
If you want to get to know somebody, take them fishing. Be in the boat with them for 8 hours. You're going to know if you like them or not.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's always better when the fish are biting. It's good when they're not.
Yeah.
I mean,
What's the best day? What's the best day catfishing that you've ever had?
Oh man. I'd say, as far as just numbers, like just one after the other, we fished a catfish tournament it was at East Tennessee Cats on Watts Bar, and we probably caught 40 fish over 30 pounds.
Good grief!
The biggest one was 58, and I hooked a fish that I was willing to do anything to make sure I saw this fish. It was taking everything I could to get him up. And we finally, after probably a 30-minute fight, which is a long time to fight a catfish. I mean, you know that. I got a 40-pounder hooked in the dorsal fin. Oh. Perfectly in the dorsal fin. So the only time I'm gaining on him and I'm pulling him sideways through the water, well, then he swims away real fast. You know how at 30 to 40 pound range, they're juiced.
Yeah,
they're going to swim real fast.
Yeah.
But it still had the weight and the resistance of coming in
That's
sideways.
funny.
I mean, that's probably the best, best just day of catching fish.
Yeah.
But I've had some pretty, I got some pretty crazy fish stories. I'll give you this one. We go, me and my buddy Austin, and I'll tell him to watch this that way. He can say, "Yep, it happened." We get down to Florida. Take the boat down to Florida. We're going to do some shark fishing. And this is before everybody's got really good phones with cameras. Okay, we got a flip phone with a camera, but it's like pixelated. It's just a step above a 110 camera. Right?
Yeah.
We fish all night. He hooks into a monster. It's a monster. We get this shark up to the side of the boat. It's half as long. Looks like it's half as long as my boat. And I said, take a picture of it, Austin. We'll let it go. We takes a picture and we look at the phone and it looks like a fake fish in a bathtub. I said, that's not going to do. I said, we got to get this fish in the boat to take a picture. So now we've had a few beers and our judgment's not so good.
Yeah.
So, well, how are we going to get this fish in the boat? So it dawns on us. The crocodile guy says you can turn a shark upside down and it'll go to sleep.
Oh, no.
So we grab this shark by the tail and we turn it upside down. And it goes to sleep. We tie a rope around its tail and we drag it up over the front of the boat. And it rolls over on its stomach and it comes back to life.
Oh, no.
So this thing's tail is hitting me across both my legs. I take off running and I'm standing on the motor of the boat. Austin jumps on this fish and he's got his hands on its fins.
That's funny.
He's like, you got to help me. He's like, you got to help me. I said, I don't want no part of that fish. You're going to have to figure out how to get it back in the water. He's like, no, you got to help me. He said, it's a nurse shark. He said, it ain't got no teeth. He said, come get this hook out and we'll get it back in the water. I go up there. This shark has got a mouthful of teeth. So anybody that thinks a nurse shark doesn't have any teeth has never seen one in real life.
That's funny.
Right? They're just not very big teeth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. But we get that thing back in the water. And we got some pictures of it. Its head is laying next to my trolling motor, and its tail is in between the console where the seats are.
Wow.
So it was a hefty fish, and
yeah.
Austin's my size.
Yeah.
So and we're struggling with it, but it knocked the skin off my shins, man.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that was a wild one, but it's usually you're not thinking correctly. If you're out late on the water shark fishing when you're in your 20s.
Yeah. You
got to screw loose anyway.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I'll throw one out there. When I used to guide, I had I grew up. I'm originally from West Virginia, and there was a couple girls in the neighborhood that I grew up with. One of their dads become one of my clients, one of my guide service clients. So him and his buddy called me and said, hey, we want to go on a trip. Okay, yeah. And I told him, I said, April's coming up. They want to go striper fishing. I said, April's coming up. Stripers will be on fire. Come on down. We'll go. So they like to drink quite a bit.
Yep.
So they show up that morning, and they are still drunk from the night before. So I had a deck boat at the time, had like an L-shaped couch. They get on the boat. We get to the first spot. I'm putting rods out. I look over, and both of them are passed out on the couch. I get rods out. We're fishing down through there. And I had really no sooner got rods out, and there's a rod just got hammered. So I grab it, and I hit one of them and say, all right, man, fish on, come up. He gets up and gets it. And he fights the fish, and he's looking pretty rough. So he gets the fish up there. I reach down and grab it. Before I could stand up with the fish, I hear the rod just hit the rail of the boat, and look, he's back down on the couch. He's done. I said, okay, all right. So I take the fish off and let the fish go. We pull a little bit further. Another rod gets hammered. And so I'm hollering to the other guy. I'm like, all right, come on, get up. He sets up, and I turn my back, turn around, he's back down. I caught the fish. I spent on an 8-hour trip, this is no lie, at least 7 hours of that 8-hour trip fishing by myself.
Yeah.
I just turned it into a scouting day.
Right.
I did. I was like, okay. I mean, I caught fish and I could not get that. They were just out. It was the funniest thing. We got done. I took them back to the boat ramp and said, okay, guys, we're done. He pulled out cash, handed it to me, and then they left. And he called me the next day and he said, man, I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you. He said, we didn't care if we caught any fish or not. We just wanted to come relax and get away from the house and everything. But it was funny. Yeah, I fished all day on that guide trip by myself. Yeah. Moving spot to spot and everything. They didn't even flinch.
Didn't care.
Didn't care.
Those are good days sometimes.
It was good. Yeah.
Get some peace and quiet.
That's right.
That's hard. That's hard to get sometimes.
That's right. Well, Terohn, that about wraps it up, man. I appreciate you coming and being my guest, and look forward to seeing you at the next tournament.
I'll be happy to come back if you got one of these smokers going.
I think I will next time. Next time I'll have a big pork butt on, some ribs or something.
I got my security guard will drive me anywhere.
That's right.
You know? So
I'm
always down for eating. I don't shy away from that.
Oh yeah.
So, but anytime, man. Anytime. It's. I'm glad you're getting back into it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Know, I'm just totally kidding around about not wanting to see you there.
I know.
I appreciate the challenge. And,
absolutely.
That's part of the fun of it.
That's right.
And if you ain't being challenged by it, then probably shouldn't be doing it.
That's right. That's one thing I love, the competition. It's always a friendly competition, and I love that part of it. Yeah. So, well, thanks guys for tuning in. We appreciate you. Big shout out to Devin Tatro behind the camera. Be sure to go check out his YouTube channel, Devin Tatro. Awesome guy. Anything cameras, technology, drones, he is your man. So be sure to go check out his YouTube channel and subscribe. Check out our channel, Fish Hunt Eat. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.